Hi guys, welcome back. So in today's lecture, we will be focusing on answering questions related to governance and public policy in UPSC interview. So governance and public policy, very important area. And these are some of the most important questions that you will face as they are going to test your understanding on how public administration work, the role of government institutions, and the practical challenges involved in implementing policies. So basically, if you see what they are going to check from your side is whether you have understanding on how public administration works. So those who have public administration as the optional, there is nothing to worry. You might have covered it already, but others, we need to look for it. And the role of government institutions, that anyway you covered in polity. And this is the most important area, the practical challenges involved in implementing various policies, because you are going to implement the policies. Right. Now, governance and public policy are the heart of what civil servants do, right? So the panel will be very keen to see how well you understand these concepts and how you apply them in the real world situations, not like writing an answer for public administration or writing an answer for governance related topic in your GS2. See, in my interviews also, I have encountered several questions from governance, and that's how you will understand that you will learn even in mock interview also, that if you have a very good understanding on both the theory and the practical issue, that's what actually going to help you in answering these questions effectively. So you need to look at various governance aspects also before we are going for the interview. So let's start with this. Okay, see guys, before diving into specific questions, it's very important to have a solid understanding of the basics of governance. So that means I know that you guys already have done very well in your prelims and mains. Of course, but still, I just want to mention that in one or two lines about the basic of governance, like a role of executive, legislature, judiciary, importance of transparency and accountability, government institutions, right? See, understand how these three branches, executive, legislature, and judiciary. So how these three branches of government function and interact. Very important, you will get questions related to that. So the executive implement the policies, the legislature make laws, and judiciary ensures that these laws are applied fairly and justly. Now, coming to importance of transparency and accountability, we discussed it many times in these sessions. Transparency ensures that government actions are open to public scrutiny. See, accountability means the public officials are responsible for their actions, right? Their decisions, their actions, and everything. But both are again very crucial for governance, transparency and accountability. So when we talk about ethical dilemma, ethical principles, also we discuss this. When we talk about governance also, this is again very important. Okay. Now, various government institutions that you need to be familiar with the role of various institutions like parliament, ministries, regulatory bodies, right? Independent commissions, each plays significant role in governance framework of India. So, when you are preparing for interview, you should have a very good idea about all these, and when answering questions related to the structure and functioning of governance, focus on presenting a clear and concise explanation on how these institutions operate. For example, if you are asked about the role of executive, you can say the executive branch is responsible for implementing the laws passed by the legislature. So it includes the prime minister, the cabinet, and the various ministries, all of which work together to formulate and execute the government policies. So, see, during my interviews, I was asked to explain the role of civil services within the structure. So I highlighted how civil servants act as a backbone of the executive, ensuring that the policies are implemented efficiently and in line with the law. So understanding these foundational concepts is crucial for answering governance questions confidently. So very important, guys. You should have a very good, knowledge about this. They're definitely gonna ask you one question which is related to or connected with this. Okay. So, see, one of the key areas where governance intersect with public policy is the policy implementation. So, most of the time, the panel asks you questions related to the practical aspect because the theoretical aspect is already covered. So, see, what I have understood in my experience and from my friends' interviews, experiences, The policy implementation part is what they ask you, the challenges in policy implementation part, right? So the UPSC panel will often ask about the challenges in implementing policies on the ground, that the reality. So this is a core responsibility of a civil servant. So they focus on, because laws are made and you are the ones who are going to implement, and you are going to get into the real battlefield or the playing ground, right? So what are the common challenges? So have an idea about the common challenges, like resource constraints you face, bureaucratic hurdles will be there, public oppositions will be there, right? Even when you're implementing certain policies. So when we talk about resource constraints, policies mostly fail to deliver results due to the lack of resources, whether it is financial, human, or infrastructure. And when answering questions about these challenges, focus on how resource allocation can be improved and how innovative solutions like public private partnerships can be used to address resource shortages. Okay, now again, coming to bureaucratic hurdles, one of the biggest issues that they always ask questions about this, the bureaucracy can sometimes slow down, the policy implementation. Why? Due to the red tapeism, the procedure delays, and the lack of coordination among various departments. So all these are again hurdles. So when discussing about, the bureaucratic challenges, emphasize the importance of streamlining processes. Use these words. That's why I'm using these words. In fact, cut, copy, paste, right? Streamlining the process, promoting interdepartmental collaboration, ensuring accountability, like that. Coming to public opposition, see, sometimes even a well-intentioned policy face public resistance due to the misunderstanding or lack of communication or misinterpretation to the public. So in these cases, focus on the importance of effective communication, stakeholder engagement, and building public trust to overcome the opposition. So in one of my interview, I was asked how I would handle the implementation of a rural development scheme in an area with limited infrastructure. So I explained that while resource constraints were a challenge, I would focus on leveraging local resources, collaborating with NGOs, and ensuring that the scheme was tailored to the specific needs of the community. The panel also appreciated that I not only understood the challenges, also provided practical, on the ground solutions. Right. So, guys, again, evaluating government policies is another critical area that the panel may explore. So, when you are asked to evaluate the success or shortcoming of a particular policy, it's very important to take a balanced approach. So, how can you do that? You assess the objectives, then measure the outcome. Also, identify the limitations and suggest improvements. So, simple. So, follow this framework. So start by outlining the original objective of the policy. That's what assess the objective. What problem was it designed to solve or address? Was it meant to improve public welfare or economic growth or social equity? Make it very clear. So that's what you mean by assess the objective. So first talk about the objective of the policy. Measure the outcome. Next, you try to assess the outcome of the policy. Did it achieve the objective? What tangible result have been seen so far? Use data or real world example to support your evaluation. If you don't know, just ignore the step and you can broadly talk about this. So you can tell that I don't know exact statistics of the outcome, but still this is what it helped in improving the rural health. And if suppose any health policy you're talking about, identify the limitation. So see guys, no policy, nothing is perfect. No one is perfect, no policy is perfect. So it's also very, very important to acknowledge any shortcomings. So did the policy face challenges during implementation? Were there unintended consequences or areas where it fell short? Talk about this. Very important again. And finally, suggest improvements. So these 4 steps that you need to follow suggest ways to improve the policy. What changes could be made to address its limitation and make it more and more effective? For example, if you're asked to evaluate Swachh Bharat Mission, or for that matter, any such policy related to education or anything, the Swachh Bharat Mission has been successful in raising awareness about sanitation and increasing access to toilets across the country, you can say, right? So what's the objective and what it have done and everything. But challenges remain in ensuring, long-term behavioral change and waste management infrastructure. So you talk about the challenges, and you can talk about improvement can be done to improve the policy. I would suggest greater focus on waste processing facilities and community engagement program to encourage a sustained behavioral change. So you can bring in community engagement programs like that in your answer. In one of my interview, I was asked to evaluate the performance of a major social welfare scheme. So I use the same framework, and by using that, I could present a balanced view. So if you follow this, you are actually presenting a very balanced view, highlighting the success and the challenges of policy which is faced during the implementation. So this structured approach, if you follow that, help you to deliver a clear, well-rounded, a thoughtful answer, a balanced answer. Okay, now public-private partnerships are increasingly being used in India to deliver public services and implement infrastructure projects. So when there are questions that you will be getting related to public-private partnership, PPPs. So when you're asked about PPPs in the interviews, it's again very important to present a balanced view that highlight both the advantages and challenges. So talk about what are the advantages of PPP, challenges of PPP, and you need to balance both. So what you can do is, this is one example that I'm talking about, public-private partnership. If they ask any question, start by explaining the benefits of PPP, like leveraging the private sector efficiency. This is the one which is most important. You get that private sector efficiency, accessing private capital, you get the capital, and sharing the risk between government and private entities. So PPPs can accelerate infrastructure development and improve service delivery, especially in areas like transportation, healthcare, and education. So you can talk about advantage. Now, what are the challenges? PPPs are not without their challenges, of course. There may be issues related to regulatory oversight, accountability, and ensuring that the public interest is safeguarded. So sometimes private companies prioritize profits over public welfare, which can lead to conflict of interest. Next is, again, you need to balance, right? So when answering questions on PPPs, it's very important to balance these two aspects. Acknowledge the benefits, but also emphasize the need for strong regulatory frameworks, transparent contracts, and robust monitoring mechanisms to ensure that public interests are protected. So in one of my interview, I was asked about the effectiveness of public-private partnership in infrastructure development. So I explained that while the public-private partnerships have been successful in delivering major infrastructure projects like highways and airports, it's essential to have clear contracts and regulatory oversight to avoid issues like cost overruns or compromised quality. So that's a balanced approach that will demonstrate your understanding of both opportunities and the risk associated with it, right? So again, in one of my interviews, I was asked how I will address the governance challenge in urban areas, particularly related to infrastructure development and public services. So see how you will approach the question. Think about this. So what I did is I approached the question by first outlining the key challenges, right, such as rapid urbanization, inadequate infrastructure, and the lack of coordination between municipal bodies and the state governments. You talk about all these and then discuss practical solutions such as strengthening urban local bodies, promoting public-private partnerships, and improving coordination between different levels of government. I also emphasize the importance of community participation and transparency in urban governance. So this approach actually clearly showed the panel that had a clear understanding of both theoretical and theoretical aspect, and at the same time, the practical challenges which actually faced on the ground, right? So simple, you just follow the steps, things will be automatically done. So see, the thing is that you need to balance the theory with practical solution. So when you're doing that, you will be able to demonstrate that you not only understand or understood governance issues, but also have a realistic approach to solve them or address them. So, guys, what I want to tell you in conclusion is, see, governance and public policy questions are very important, are core central to UPSC interview. They'll ask you one question because they need to have they need to know whether what kind of idea you have about this policy implementation and everything. Mostly they'll focus on policy implementation part, that the ground reality, that's where you are going to step in. So they test your understanding on how public administration work, what are the challenges of public, the policy implementation. So make sure that you have a strong grasp and idea of the basics of governance. So be ready to discuss practical solutions to policy challenges and always present a balanced view when evaluating policies or discussing public-private partnerships. So always keep practicing, guys. So stay updated on the current governance and policy issues and practice framing your answers in a clear and structured, balanced way. So when you are, practice in the mirror and record your videos and watch yourself whether you are presenting in a balanced way or not. talk to your friends, talk to your mentor, right? And then mock interview will also definitely gonna help you. So guys, that's about the session. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. Share the video with your friends if you like the video, if it is giving some knowledge to you. See you in the next video.